You gonna have him read poetry? Okay, go ahead. You're on.
Hi, Dad. These poems are just for you. This poem is called Pancake. Or really, Pancake? Who wants a pancake? Sweet and piping hot. Good little Grace looks up and says, I'll take the one on the top. Who else wants a pancake fresh off the griddle? Terrible Teresa smiles and says, I'll take the one in the middle. Smart. My dad gave me $1 bill because I'm his smartest son, and I swapped it for 2 shiny quarters because 2 is more than 1. And then I took the quarters and traded them to Lou for 3 dimes, I guess. He didn't know. I guess he didn't know that 3 is more than 2. Just then along came old blind Bates, and just because he can't see, he gave me 4 nickels for my 3 dimes, and 4 is more than 3. And I took the nickels to Hiram Coons down at the seed feed store, and the fool gave me 5 pennies for them, and 5 is more than 4. And then I went and showed my dad, and he got red in the cheeks, and closed his eyes and shook his head, too proud of me to speak. True story. This morning I jumped on my horse and went out for a ride, and some wild outlaws chased me, and they shot me in the side. So I crawled into a wildcat's cave to find a place to hide. But some pirates found me sleeping there, and soon they had me tied to a pole and built a fire under me. I almost cried, till a mermaid came and cut me loose and begged to ride. So I said I'd come back Wednesday, but I must admit I lied. Then I ran into a jungle swamp, but I forgot my guide, and I stepped into some quicksand. And no matter how I tried, I couldn't get out until I met a water snake named Clyde, who pulled me to some cannibals who planned to have me fried. But an eagle came and swooped me up, and through the air we fly. Got me in a boiling lake 1,000 miles wide. And you'll never guess what I did then. I died. Bang, clang. I'm Big Barney Zang of the railroad gang. My partner is Charlie O'Flynn. And I hold the nails for the big steel rails. And Charlie, he hammers them in. And most of the time he does just fine, but now again he fails. Maybe tomorrow I'll hammer him in and let Charlie hold the nails. Having troubles. I have no idea what that is. Double-tailed dog. Would you like to buy a dog with a tail at either end? He is the strangest dog there is in town. Though he's not too good at knowing just exactly where he's going, he's very, very good at sitting down. He doesn't have a place to put a collar, and I'll admit it's rather hard to feed him. And he cannot hear you at all, for he has no ears at all. But it doesn't cost a single cent to feed him. He cannot bite, he'll never bark or growl. Just scratch him on his tail, he'll find it pleasing. But you'll have to take him out. I said one more, but didn't have enough time, so we're just going to talk about our trip.
You said one more what?
No, never mind him. Okay, now, now we are supposed to, let's see here, what do I want to say? We're supposed to kind of like tell you.
Just pretend it's a person.
Yeah, take it, Dad.
So easy to get him confused. So easy to get him confused. But that's all right. He's really for an 11-year-old. Now, are you going to tell him where we've been? What's that? I didn't catch all of that. We're going to
Idiot.
play that back and oh, thanks. What a guy. What a guy. Now, you going to tell them about our trip? Where did we start out?
We started out in Los Angeles, California.
How long ago?
I have no idea.
10 days.
10 days ago. Thought so. But we made our way up to San Francisco and we played.
We played. We knew we played.
And we then that day, the next day, we went down to Santa Clara, California, and went to Marriott's Great America,
Which is an amusement park.
which is an.
I thought I'd say it before he did.
And I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
If you're nervous, I'm the one biting my fingernail.
Oh no, Johnson.
Oh, that's right. If John sees this, that's a bad. I'm sorry, John. I didn't do that. You didn't see me do that, John. I'm going to put my hands right here between my legs. No, I'm not going to do that. That looks compromising. So,
And
and what else happened at Marriott's Great America?
well, I got a T-shirt, and we got a T-shirt for a girl named Catherine, who my dad's in love with, and she is she's frantic about a movie called Blade Runner, and on the front it says Blade
I hate
Runner
to tell you
is
this,
a
but you have a
classic.
yellow jacket right behind you. I'm not kidding. You take, but it's right behind. It's loving you to death. It's just hovering all around you.
Is it on me?
No, it's just kind of it's exploring you right now. I just lost it. Where did it go? There it is.
Don't shoo it. Don't.
Just get up and move.
I'm serious.
Just get up and move.
No.
Just get up and move.
No.
We have to be attacked by yellow jackets right there. This is the thing is after I'm going to get up because I'm jackets. This is going to be great on tape. I don't know why he has to come here. Don't do that. Come on.
My dad is being attacked by a yellow jacket. This is a once-in-a-lifetime shot.
Scared to death by a yellow jacket.
This
Must be something about
small
it.
little yellow jacket is harmful. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Why don't you go?
But my dad is,
Tell and get the raise.
my dad to be sings, okay?
Bruce.
Alright,
Bruce,
goodbye.
get the raid. I don't think this thing's going to leave us in peace. Definitely not. Get the raid. I want to shoot this thing down.
No.
He's just kind of flying around in here. Anyway, if he comes back, we'll be armed with the raid. Well, we went to Santa Clara. I went to Marriott's Great America, which is... Here comes Bruce. All right, let's just kind of leave it right here. He flew off, but if he comes back, we'll bomb him. Okay?
It's called the
Yard
Yard
Guard.
Guard.
Very good. Okay, so we went to Marriott's Great America. You gotta have to leave that on the tape. That's gonna be great. Seeing us scared by the yellow jacket. And what he didn't tell you was that all through Santa Clara and all through Marriott's Great America, I was as sick as a dog.
Oh yeah, he was
Oh, yeah.
he was such a drag because he'd go around. And there was one really neat ride called the Wizard, and it was really fast. And in the beginning, he really liked it, but he started getting sick, and he was such a drag because he didn't stay.
Because I was sick. Oh, well, what the heck. What we do the next day?
I don't know.
Oh, sure you do.
We went up to Washington. No, we didn't.
No, we went to
went
San
up-
Francisco again.
We went through San Francisco again, and we were supposed to stay in Eugene, Washington,
Oregon.
Oregon.
There you go.
We were supposed to stay in Eugene, Oregon, and we didn't make it because it was about 10 o'clock then.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stayed in Eureka,
California.
California. We're like Abbott and Costello, weren't we?
Is that better?
Why don't we let my dad take it from here?
Oh, you just don't want to talk anymore. Well, okay. We spent the whole day before Eureka going up to the redwoods. We've never seen the redwoods. You don't know what you're missing. The redwoods are just astounding. But we drove through one and took a whole lot of pictures of them and everything else. Got to Eureka, stayed overnight, and then instead of going up to like we'd wanted to do, we had to kind of cut catty corner across Oregon and Washington. We had Crater Lake in Oregon, which is simply beautiful. Is it not? There's only one thing wrong with that. Crater Lake's in Oregon, not in Washington. I think I just said Washington. Yes. And then we went through eastern Oregon, which is more rangeland than mountains, which was surprising. Stayed in Pendleton, Oregon, and then went up the next day through Idaho, through the Clearwater River and the Gallatin National Forest into Montana. And are we being attacked?
I think so.
Oh, well, that's all right. Beautiful, beautiful drive. And stayed the night in Bozeman, Montana. The next day we left Bozeman and spent 9 hours going through Yellowstone National Forest, which is one of the most spectacular places I've ever been. I think Bruce liked it too.
It was absolutely beautiful because there was some waterfalls. It was called Firehole Falls, and I climbed down, which was very stupid of me to do because I lost my breath doing it coming back up. But I climbed it, put my hand in the water, and it was so nice and cool, and it was crystal clear. And we went through. Yellowstone has its own Grand Canyon, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's not like the Grand Canyon because the Grand Canyon is more rusty color. But this is more white. It has more pale. It's more pale than the original Grand Canyon. But there is a waterfall about. How big do you think that waterfall is?
Well, there's two of them.
No, the one that we went to the brink of, and it was 3/8 of a mile long.
Oh, that one. It was 308 feet tall.
308. Well, anyway, this waterfall is 308 feet tall.
Approximately.
And there was a spot where you could go down right to the brink of it and look straight down, which was the most scariest thing, because, well, number one, we had to walk down a hill for 3/8 of a mile, which wasn't so bad. And then we got to there and we took some pictures, but then we had to walk all the way back up, and when we got into the car, we took off our shirts and everything. And I opened the camera because I thought my dad had rewound the film, and now we don't have any more pictures of the brink.
Huh? We lost pictures of the brink? Oh, what a bummer. I didn't realize we lost pictures of the brink.
Well, as I told you...
Well, we lost a lot of first roll we took in San Francisco. Remember with you on the cable cars? We went around cable cars, went on Lombard Street, which is the world's crookedest street. It goes straight downhill. And we lost all those pictures because the camera broke the film. So we did lose a lot of pictures.
And before I told you that was the most scariest thing, but it's not. We also went to the Custer battlefield, which was later on in time. But...
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, I have to. I've just started. I've already started.
Well, what you do is you say after we went to Yellowstone Park, then we left and went through Beartooth Pass in Montana
Okay,
at night,
all right.
and we ended up at Billings.
We ended up at Billings,
and then
Montana.
the next day.
Then the next day,
there you go.
we went down to the Custer battlefield, and they had put markers, white markers, really gravestones, where all the men had fallen or gotten killed by an Indian, and they put markers exactly in that exact same spot where they found the bodies, and you could see that the Indians were forcing the Custer backing up because you could see these markers in different spots for where they got killed, and on Custer's last stand there were about 50 markers just in one spot, and you could see Custer's exact spot where he died and fell. The Indian who killed him was glad.
It was an amazing place. You felt like it had just happened yesterday. You kind of expected to see Indians come over the hill at any minute because except for the visitor's center and a few barns and places like that around the area.
Interstate.
In the interstate. It looks remarkably like it must have looked 100 years ago. They have it set up very well so you have no trouble seeing where the battle happened and exactly where the flow of troop movements were and where the retreats were and where the attacks were. It's quite scary. You have to use the restroom. Well, okay, you go ahead and use the restroom. I'll finish it up. Excuse him. He has to use the restroom. Well, anyway, from there, what turned out to be the longest day of the trip, and in some ways the most frustrating, we went down back into Wyoming and across the northeastern part of Wyoming until we got to Devil's Tower, which is another national monument, which is this one piece of monolith that climbs up out of the Black Hills, about 800 and some feet. And it's the Devil's Tower was the monument used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's beautiful. It's very impressive. It's definitely something to see. Then we went over to Mount Rushmore, which if I had stayed on the interstate would have only taken us about an hour and a half to get to, but I made the really stupid decision of getting off the interstate and going down a U.S. route through Deadwood, South Dakota. Deadwood is a town, but unfortunately at this particular time they had a bikers convention. And we're not talking about family motorcycles here, we're talking about motorcycle gangs, hogs and their mamas and their great big huge Harley Davidsons, and there must have been 4,000 of them. And they were just crawling all throughout the Black Hills. You feel better?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
They were just crawling through the Black Hills and tying up traffic and everything else, and as a result it took us about 3 hours to get to Mount Rushmore. We didn't stay too long at Mount Rushmore because it was getting to be so late and we had to go. So at about 8 o'clock that night, we started on a 330-mile trip to North Platte, Nebraska, and we rolled in there about 2 o'clock in the morning, completely exhausted. The next day was not a sightseeing day. The next day was a drive day.
Did you tell them about the Devil's Tower?
Yes, I did. While you were...
Peeing?
Yeah.
I didn't say that, John.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
Right. You did it. Yeah, hide your head. That's good. Good. Oh, good kid. Anyway.
Child abuse! Child abuse!
Stop that. You don't have to do that. Even though I do abuse you, you don't have to do that. The next day we drove from North Platte to St. Louis. And just kind of a one-stop kind of drive, 700 miles. Got into St. Louis about 1 o'clock in the morning. And after that we went to Six Flags Mid-America in St. Louis.
Over Mid-America.
And yesterday we left the Ramada Inn in South St. Louis, went through the Gateway Arch, which by the way is actually called the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial, which I didn't know. Went up in the Gateway Arch. It's very uncomfortable going up in the arch, and now he wants to talk. He wants to tell you about all the neat things, you see. He lets me do the boring narrative, but he tells you about all the neat things. Go ahead. I scratch my nose.
We went to the top of the Gateway Arch, which is the Jefferson National Expansion Monument, and it is the most uncomfortable feeling when you're up there because up at the top of the arch, it goes like this, right? Okay, here's a side view. It really goes like this. It kind of, you feel like you're just barely suspended by nothing. It's really eerie feeling because you can look straight down and know that there isn't anything under you except for the floor.
Yes.
And
Yes.
excuse me, I'm sorry. I have a lump in my throat. I'm not used to doing this kind of a work, but I'll make movie star one day. But anyhow.
He's not mine. I don't know him.
His name is Daniel G. Kogan.
Okay.
All right.
Just because you know who I am and what I do doesn't mean you're mine.
It's another thing is to be sitting by the window going down. What they have to do to keep you level, they have to, because you go downhill, they have to have these machines that go, like you'd be going down the arch and you go like that, they go,
How do they go again?
Oh.
You did it very well. You don't have to do it again. Okay.
It says that I'm going to be an actor one day.
Yeah, good.
But, anyhow, we came down and we're amazed by how tall this thing is. This thing is 630 feet tall and it's nothing but an arch. It's really an arch. There are no supports under the top of the arch. It's an arch. Like no supports right here, just an arch. And
most arches don't have supports in the middle. That's what makes them arches.
Well, we got finished with that, and Dad wants to talk.
Oh, Dad wants to talk now. Well, we got to finish. Oh, are you going to pout? Oh, okay. Stop that. That was his imitation of a 3-year-old. Now,
That's a 2-year-old.
so let's see. From there, we went to have an absolutely luscious dinner with Catherine's parents in Gillespie. And there we came on the road and came up here. And here, for anybody viewing this tape who doesn't have to be Tammy, Hugh, or John, is Tammy, Hugh, and John's backyard on a glorious Sunday afternoon, sitting under a marvelous tree being attacked by yellow jackets, but only a little bit. So let's see. From here, we're going to go down to Crown Point, Indiana, and see some more friends for a couple of days, and then we're going to go to Dayton, Ohio. We're going to see more friends there. We're going to go to Kings Island, amusement park, which boasts the world's largest, tallest, fastest, and most scary roller coaster called the Beast, and the world's first suspended roller coaster, where the tracks are above you and you hang from them, called the Bat. And then from there we're going to Baltimore, which is the end of our journey. And probably we will have amassed about 5,000 miles by then. We've got a little over 4,100 so far right now. So that's our trip. I'm supposed to tell you that I have to go to the bathroom, but what I'm really going to do is go around and look at Bruce through the eyepiece while he sits here and tries to think of something else to say. But anyway.
What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. Hey, it was supposed to be a secret, because that's what I did a few minutes ago. I said, I have to use the restroom. So I went around there, but so you couldn't see me, and I went around and I went, hi, how you doing? You know, because it was pretty neat. Now, here he is, the idiot.
Wasn't really exciting.
I think this is probably the end of our tape.
I guess so. We probably bored everybody enough. It's like kind of like well, if I could talk, kind of like watching a slideshow. Now, we'll see if Bruce knows how to turn it off. You know how to turn it off?
I think you press stop.
Why don't we get Hugh?
No, pause.
Okay, press pause. Bye. Just press pause?
Yep.